Howdy. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Again, my name is Jason Rowntree. I co-direct the Center for Regenerative Agriculture at Michigan State University, also with a colleague, Dr. Bruno Basso, there as well. And so we've been working on the center for about 2 years and kind of trying to launch it. Kind of fought my bosses on calling it the Center for Regenerative Ag, and I lost. And often because it's a tough thing to define. I'll try to go into that some, but really excited to address y'all and see a lot of familiar faces. Before I get started, I always want to be sure that regenerative ag really has been taken from an aspect of indigenous wisdom or traditional ecological knowledge. We want to acknowledge the roots of regenerative agriculture and the fact that our Native American communities have really been the ones that have brought this level of agriculture and food production to bear. And so I think it's important to make that acknowledgement. What do we define regenerative ag as? And I never thought, y'all, I'd get into so many damn debates on what regenerative ag is. I just thought it was doing something better, right? But no, we get into these nebular discussions if it's agroecology or sustainable or regenerative, and I believe in being led by principle but driven to quantifiable outcome, if that makes sense, right? And the fact is we have these tools in our toolbox that are soil health principles. And I think no matter if we're talking about water, phosphorus, carbon, biodiversity, profitability, it all really stems from soil health and the principles that drive it, which are up here. I think that every farmer has a different context. They have a different way of doing things. And for the astute academic to march up to the farm gate and say that we need to do all these things is a little over my pay grade. I think the fact that a farmer has to have the ability to make decisions and to work in their own context, and understanding there's a lot of these aspects of soil health that can be adopted at the farmscape, and understand that every farmer might do it differently, and they have that creative opportunity. But at the same time, I think it's also important that we be driven to outcome and being able to quantify those outcomes. And to me, that's a very important thing. A recent poll just came out by the Fair Group, big supporter of FAO. I think they have 70 trillion in companies that support this NGO. But they did a survey about regenerative ag, and they found 50 of the 79 companies they surveyed actually had regenerative ag in their disclosures, that this is a priority, that this is what we're working towards. Most of those are, as you would expect, around soil health and soil carbon. I think soil health from resilience, soil carbon from emission offsetting. Only 36%, however, have quantified company-wide targets, only 36% of those 50. And then only 16% have actually discussed what those metrics and data look like. Only 16%. And then finally, only 8% have targets to financially support farmers to deploy regenerative practices. So I don't know about y'all, if I go with these tools in my toolbox and I say, Mr. Farmer, Mrs. Farmer, you need to do these things, the first thing they're going to wonder is, how am I going to get paid? And if we don't have a quantifiable way of measuring it, and if we can't assess a financial opportunity to it, adoption is going to suffer. And so I think that this is clear in where we need to go. We could look at this as greenwashing, meaning a company's just going to talk about being regenerative, but they're going to maybe just kind of go status quo. Or we can also look at it as these companies that are out there wanting to do better don't know how to get there. And so it's a dual approach, y'all. I tend to hope for the latter, and I think our center has a really key opportunity in working with you all here in this room and in the state to beginning to understand what this looks like. But some of the reasons these companies are challenged is because we all live in our silos. I am convinced after 2 years of meeting with big groups on what regenerative ag looks like in Michigan and beyond, we tend to gravitate still to our silos. I am, as an academic, struggle to understand the language of a supply chain. And they need a quality product, and they need it to be safe, and they need it now. And they don't need too much of it. They don't need not enough of it. It's always this balance in a supply chain, right? we've got farmers and academics that speak different languages. And so across this supply chain, we tend to kind of evolve into that story in the Bible where we're all speaking languages neither of us understand. And we can't really build a tower if we don't understand what each other's saying. And so that's something that I've learned in this space. Secondly, the fact is that when it comes to carbon today, we are in the wild, wild west. There's no sheriff. It's whatever the hell you want to do. It's tombstone, okay? And I think that it's going to be incumbent on us to be able to understand that making pledges and doing these things are going to have accountability. And then I think there's a need to unify, and that's why I'm here today working with you all to unify, to work across our agriculture supply chain to really try to see these mitigation opportunities come to bear. And I think research is one reason and one way that we at MSU, working with others, can get there. And so the MSU Center for Regenerative Agriculture, we exist to provide educational awareness and insight through research, data, and metrics. Again, we want to be driven to outcome, and I see that as being a big piece of what we do. We also want to work with you all here in this room to influence policy, and I think those things are all very important. The thing that we've really focused on in our work and where I see us moving forward is being able to quantify the metrics of regeneration, whether it be carbon, water, phosphorus, profitability, but not just checking the box for a practice, but actually using modeling, using validation on the ground to actually come up with quantifiable and real-time metrics that we can attach to the commodities that we produce in this state. I also want to be really clear in the fact that I'm very driven to the big tent philosophy and having partnerships, working together shoulder to shoulder. Had a great chat with my friends at University of Michigan, and we didn't talk football. And moving forward in that way. And so where we are and where we're headed is the fact that we would very much like to continue to look at quantifying these outcomes, okay? What does it look like for water? Working with Jeremiah, who's going to speak here in a moment. Working with carbon, working with profitability. That's where I really see us being able to bring this to bear. We have an opportunity here through MSU, working with others educationally, MSU Extension as well, to be able to do this. And then again, incorporating that concept of partnerships and working through there as well. And so we're thinking about these things from a standpoint of data. I've been measuring things for a long time. I measure stuff for a living. And the opportunities that we have to show emission reductions in the food that we produce are immense. They're tangible and they're real. We just have to see these things come to fruition. And so the way that I've envisioned it, and this is kind of messy, and actually I had to pay somebody to do this slide, and I'm wondering, yeah, it's a lot, is that we really see the center of what we're doing from a standpoint of research and modeling. We want to really focus on that. We're not going to be everything to everybody, and that's where our partnerships and teamwork working with you all come to bear. I don't see us being the leader in everything that we do, but I think that we can be a bridge and we can bring somebody that brings people together. We always have to be thinking about funding. We've primarily operated off federal grants, philanthropic dollars. We're seeing more opportunities working with private groups, as well as licensing and fees of the data and the modeling that we're working on. But the key is that outer group, right, is that we want to influence, use our research and modeling and our data to influence our private industries, and then being able to inform policies on better opportunities that are out there. And so I think that those are really the key things. We've got currently, I'm operating off about a $19 million project today where we are working to scale up the metrics in all of our grassland systems throughout the U.S. We're working to bring these metrics to bear, to put into more real-time, real-world types of life cycle assessment, looking at our friends in ruminant agriculture. We're also doing the same, working with Dr. Basso in our cropland systems as well. The amount of modeling that he alone can bring to bear that's looking at the opportunities for no-till and cover crops stacked on top of each other, they're immense, to the point of 0.2 to 0.5 metric tons per hectare of carbon. And so there's some really unique and really great opportunities out there. Another thing that I think that's really important that we envision is working to help and inform policy. Hearing Dr. Boring today was really great to talk about values and the fact that that I believe that we are aligned. And I've never seen more alignment in this state for this movement than now. And that's my experience here, being 15 years from the leadership at MSU. I thought you were just waving a fan thing at me. Okay, no. I got a few minutes. So whether it is the aspect of the leadership we have in the College of Ag today, I've never seen better leadership that we've had to embrace these movements. I've never even seen better opportunities working with MDARD and Eagle. And then finally, we recently hosted a kind of a get-to-know-you meeting. I didn't know everybody, or I would have invited you, with respect to kind of what does a regenerative ag coalition look like in this state? And how can we work with Ducks Unlimited and Pheasants Forever and the soil and water conservation programs and everything that we've got out there? I don't want to leave anybody out. But working together to influence policy. And how does that look? And I see that as a very strong opportunity. And again, I've never seen more teamwork opportunity than I have today. And so that's really, at the end of the day, what we're about. And then seeing these strategic partnerships come to bear. It's going to be public-private. It isn't going to be just one of us standing alone. And I think it's going to be important to have that as well. And so in closing, I feel like I went through that pretty quick, y'all. But I see us and what we're doing at MSU and working together as a team is really trying to emphasize the metrics that quantify the outcomes of changing to regenerative agriculture in the state of Michigan. I would love to see all 10 million acres in this state converted to the adoption of soil health principles. Farmers don't have it easy, and it's really hard, right? And I want to emphasize the fact that we need to be very sensitive to that. We need to understand the fact that that they have to make a living. They have to put food on the table every day. And here we come, knowing better than them isn't the right way forward. And so I really see us as kind of working together as a team, shoulder to shoulder, moving forward to see this adopted in our state. And so with that, I think I'll stop. I think I'm about on time. And we're going to wait and do questions later. All right. Thank you all very much.